Okay, it's been a minute, hasn't it? Video's gonna have 3 parts. One's very short, 2 aren't as short. First part is the TLDR, too long didn't read. For everybody who clicked on this, what's the quick scoop? You don't care about any of the details. Quick version, we'll be getting back into making videos, releasing those maybe every day, maybe every other day. We'll see how often those come out. But we are coming back, so that's neat. Live streams, I don't know when those will start up again just yet. I need to get back into my normal day job first, and then I'll do live stream stuff secondary, but the real job takes priority. But I can get some videos out in the meantime. Right. So if that's all you wanted to know, cool. Hope you enjoyed the little hype trailer we released before this. Carry on. All right, part 2 and then part 3. Part 2 is what happened to me. Part 3 is what the channel's going to do going forward. That sounds ominous, but the TLDR mentioned, we're not going anywhere. I'll just tell you what the upcoming schedule is. All right, part 2. So for people who are just curious where the hell I went, I've been posting on YouTube some months ago, it looks like, Discord off and on throughout this, but I thought I would just put it in one location. What the hell happened to me? And also, this isn't just for the YouTube audience, it's also for people in my life, like family and friends that haven't heard from me in, like, depending on who you are, haven't heard from me in like 6 months to like 2 months. So this is just easier than having this conversation with everybody individually. And then also the people on YouTube that want to know what happened to me, sure. Before you post in the comments about anything like, oh, you don't have to tell people this stuff. I know I don't, but it's not really a secret. So I thought I'd just put it in one location so people who give a shit can know what's going on. And people like our patrons or our community members, who are very invested in this channel and have been for like 5 years at this point, know what the hell happened to us. So, yeah, where to start? I went through, legitimately, without exaggeration, the worst period of time in my entire life so far. And hopefully the worst period of time I will ever have. Yeah. So, no comedic effect, but it starts with my wedding last year. We delayed our honeymoon for a year because we had just moved and both changed jobs and everything was really complicated. So we didn't want to do a honeymoon in the same year that we had to move and plan a wedding and switch jobs. So that was last year we got married, right? Now this year was coming up, and in the fall and then in the winter, I started to have panic attacks in the middle of the night about twice, 3 times a week. I've been struggling with anxiety and panic. I mean, you could argue since I was a child, but really since college, it started to kick in. And I've just been an anxious person. That's not new. But I was on a certain medication for 10 years at this point. But I'm on the lowest dose of that medication. And the panic attacks were coming up in the middle of the night, coming up more and more. And we were kind of wondering what it was about, but it was pretty obvious that it was about the honeymoon coming up where we were going to fly to Europe. And flying is a little bit staying away from home is a little bit as far as anxiety goes. Being overseas, somewhere with a different language, is also a little stressful. And in the interest of trying to better our chances for dealing with that trip, I thought of talking about switching my medications, right? So in the spring, we started trying different medications for anxiety and panic. Nothing really that special about it. Why are you bringing it up? Well, we'll get there. So I tried a couple different brands with the guidance of my doctor. I wasn't just randomly popping pills, but like we tried them. And the thing with anxiety medication is most of them under the classification of SSRIs take 4 to 6 weeks to really take effect. So you have 2 or 3 weeks of worse symptoms than no meds. Then a couple weeks of like you're not taking anything at all. The positives and the negatives kind of balance. And then in weeks 4 through 6 is when you can really see if this medication is going to be good for you. So it's kind of a pain in the ass. I was doing that and I tried one medication and I really didn't like it. It made me nauseous. I didn't like being nauseous. So we tried a different medication. Again, another 4 to 6 weeks, made me nauseous as well. Okay, that happens when you're trying these things. And I was having some difficulties eating because I was nauseous all the time, but I was getting enough calories to like stay alive. But after about 3 months of switching medications and trying to find something that'd be a better fit in the long term, decide I need to go back to my old medication. Right around the time that I'm going back to my old medication, I get food poisoning. And that's really rough. So I don't eat anything for like 3 or 4 days, just like juice and crackers after that for a little bit. I'm really messed up, nauseous all the time. And I'm off any anxiety medication at this point because we're trying to get back on my old stuff. Remember, that also takes like 6 weeks to kick in, right? So I'm no medication for anxiety, was previously nauseous. Then I got food poisoning, lost a lot of weight over the course of a couple weeks, but also in the larger extent, a couple months. So I lost a lot of weight. I wasn't exactly a big guy to begin with, so that's getting a little concerning. Okay, Grace and I miss our first anniversary because I was sick at the time and the food poisoning had messed me up. So we had to cancel that. So pretty big bummer on the emotional front, off any medication, lost a bunch of weight. Not good. In this time, where I live is also going through a historic climate event where there's giant wildfires north of us and the wind is pushing that smoke south. So for the course of maybe about 2 months, the air outside is like toxic and everyone's supposed to stay inside almost all the time. And even inside, I have mild asthma. It's not bad, but if you go for like a run at the end of the run, you'll notice it. Well, living in a smoke cloud, that asthma that you only notice after a run starts to like pick up. Well, also a symptom of anxiety can be like chest tightness, difficulty breathing, chest pains, lightheadedness, all those things. Well, having asthma attacks consistently can have lightheadedness, chest pains, difficulties breathing. So either they were compounding on each other and making themselves worse, or like one or the other was happening, but it was just causing a lot more anxiety, wondering, is this anxiety or is this the smoke? Why can't I breathe? Why can't I breathe? All the time. And I'm having difficulties eating, and I have a headache, and I'm tired all the time and things. Now, I was still streaming at this point, so some of you kind of know that, where I would shorten my streams because I like couldn't finish them. I was just getting too tired too quickly and having difficulties shoutcasting for 4 hours, right? I'd do like 2 hours and then get really raspy and be done. So the air is toxic. I've lost a bunch of weight. My anxiety is going nuts, and we're getting a little depressed because we've missed some important points in our life due to this sickness and cloud of awfulness. Well, I have to keep working, and I need money to pay the bills. So we band-aid together as best we can. All right, with your anxiety, with not being able to breathe, with all this stuff, what can you eat right now? Because after the food poisoning, I was a little scared to like eat normal food again and maybe like, well, I don't want to trigger anybody, but be symptomatic is what I'll call it for this video, but like have symptoms again. All right, well, juice and crackers was working. Let's stay on juice and crackers. There's not a lot of protein in that, so I'll mix in some protein powder into my day, not into the juice and crackers. That's fucked up. But like, you know, we'll have protein powder shakes, we'll have juice, we'll have crackers, and then from there, I'll get back to work calorie-wise, and we'll start reintroducing foods after that, right? So just get back to work. So a couple weeks go by, I'm on the juice, crackers, and protein powder diet just because it's what I can eat without losing my mind. And going to work is really difficult without losing my mind because like you can't breathe and you're like, am I having a panic attack right now at work? Or is it the smoke? Or is it both? Or what? So you're having difficulties concentrating at work. You're busy just trying to keep your head together. When someone asks you a question, like you just want to avoid screaming at them like, what? What? What do you need? What is it? Like, I'm just trying to stay together here. So it was really rough, not going well. Well, end up having a couple more panic attacks, and like our medication's starting to kick up, but it's not fully there yet. And oh yeah, that was another thing. A different medication I was on. Yeah, it's all complicated. Sorry about that. Different medication I was on got discontinued, so they put me on like this really weak anti-panic drug for as needed. So when you're having a panic attack, you deal with it. Well, if my old drug was like a full thing of I'm going to be extreme, but just to get a point across, if it was like morphine as far as like anxiety goes, they put me on baby aspirin. So then I'm having all these panic attacks, having trouble breathing, having trouble working, having trouble eating, having trouble with all these things. And whenever you do have a panic attack, I essentially have baby aspirin to throw at it. It's not doing shit. So we have a couple bad panic attacks, and at some points I panic so hard I pass out. And at that point, I end up in the hospital. Again, I was occasionally streaming during this time, so some of you know this, some of you don't. And also, I'm talking partially to my family and friends in real life who weren't here for the streaming bits. So we end up in the hospital because we had a panic attack that made us faint. They switch up my medications there for the as-needed one, get me off baby aspirin, put me on more something like ibuprofen level strength. We have another couple panic attacks within the week. One of them so bad I end up in the hospital again. So we've gone to the hospital twice in a week for these panic attacks. At this point, I take some time off of work to just try and stay home, eat food, get some more calories in me, and maybe wait for the smoke to clear so like I can get some things off my plate because just too much is happening. I can't do it. So we stay home for a week. We eat like crackers, juice, protein powder, all that shit. I start feeling a little bit better. We go back to work for a couple weeks. It's okay. Have another massive panic attack, and I end up at home. We take another couple weeks off because I can't go to work. I'm feeling sicker and sicker. I'm losing more weight, and we don't really know how this is happening because I'm eating enough calories. Like I'm eating a lot of little foods. So at that point, we think, I look online and I figure out I have ARFID. It's an eating disorder. Now, I say I figured it out because I suspected. Then in the future of this story, I go and it gets validified. I do have ARFID. But at the time I was like, God, I think I might have this eating disorder, ARFID. Now, what ARFID is, for anyone who doesn't know and doesn't feel like doing a quick Google search, the very short version that you can do more research if you want to, is ARFID is not about wanting to eat less for your body image. ARFID is about being afraid of what the food will do to you. Because in this time, Grace and I have been trying to reintroduce other foods besides crackers, protein powder, and juice. But what happens is like, okay, well, first thing, I know cognitive behavioral therapy. That's how I dealt with my panic attacks. So essentially, if you're scared of going to class at like college, right? How cognitive behavioral therapy works is you go to class for like 5 minutes. You set a timer for 5 minutes. You'll go stay for 5 minutes no matter what, and then leave after that. The next day, come back and do 6, then 7, then 8. And eventually you're staying the whole class and you realize nothing bad happened to you. And you just get used to going to class again so you don't have anxiety about it. Now, we tried to do that approach with food. So we tried, all right, crackers and juice and stuff for a couple days, and then we're going to have spaghetti one night. You know, you've had spaghetti before. It's not really a new food, but we're going to get some meat, going to get some sauce, going to get some pasta. Well, I had some spaghetti. I got horribly bloated, a ton of acid reflux, just burping, super scary, very close feeling to how I felt when I had food poisoning, again, being symptomatic. So I'm like, I'm going to be symptomatic imminently. So it was just like horrible panic attack. And that didn't prove, in the cognitive behavioral therapy sense, it didn't prove that spaghetti was safe or that food was safe. It proved the exact opposite, right? It was like, I ate this food. I felt terrible. I felt like I was going to die. That's awful. It's like if you're scared of dogs and every dog you come across bites you, that's not going to help you get not scared of dogs. You're going to reinforce those fears of dogs. So we tried with like sub sandwiches, we tried with pasta, we tried with other things. And it was just like whenever I would eat food that wasn't these like crackers, juice, and protein powder, it was just awful. It was a horribly painful, awful experience. So I was getting panic attacks around these food. So even the thought of eating normal food just caused me to like panic. And it was really rough. And like, you can tell yourself that like, oh, food isn't that bad. But then your lived experience and your emotional brain are both like, nah, dude, food's terrible. So I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I have ARFID. So I got into an eating disorder clinic, and we wanted to do 8 weeks of treatment. Right. So we go in and they go, yeah, okay. So here's the problem. And here's why that didn't work. Your stomach has shrunk a bit, and I'm using shorthand. I don't really care to get into a debate about it. I've seen some articles online that your stomach can't shrink. The people at the program told me my stomach shrank. I'm going to trust them. And also what they proposed for me is working very well. So I'll trust them on that. Anyway, they said, so you took a large amount of food, put it into a now smaller stomach, and then your body released the same amount of stomach acid into a stomach that is smaller. So the amount of acid is too much for that stomach. The amount of food is too much for that stomach. And both of them end up going up the throat, making you feel like you're going to become symptomatic, right? And it's stomach acid, so it fucking burns. That's not the right way to do it. So what they wanted to do is to feed me multiple times a day, like honestly, like 8 meals a day, but they're all small. So you're just kind of constantly feeding, and you always push yourself to being just full, and then you stop, and that re-stretches your stomach back out. And separately, you reintroduce foods that aren't juice, crackers, and protein powder in small amounts. Like take a bite of spaghetti and then finish your meal of like crackers and other safe foods, right? Because you don't want to, we're trying to re-expand your stomach and reintroduce food separately. You don't want to push it with the spaghetti and stuff and have panic attacks. It's not helpful for getting better. All right, cool. We have a good approach. We're doing well. But also I had lost a shit ton of weight. I was having difficulties even like literally getting out of bed. Not like the emotional getting out of bed. I'm so depressed I don't want to get up. Like literally when I stand up, I would start like trembling and tremoring, and getting up and down the stairs, I would have to take like breaks and my head would get really dizzy and stuff. So we were not doing well. And they said, yeah, that makes sense, because we took labs when you admitted to our program, and you've been eating the same thing for like 2 months. And while you've been getting the calories you need or whatever, like several of your vital levels, like electrolytes and various minerals, are incredibly low, like dangerously low, because you haven't been ingesting any of them for 2 months, because your diet is incredibly limited because you're an idiot. So they put me on some supplements for a while to get those things back to my diet. And they also forced is such a strong word, but forced some foods that have those nutrients back into my routine in these like nutrient shakes they would give you while you get other foods into your repertoire there. So we got medically stabilized and things were going pretty well. I was starting to put on some weight a little bit, feel better in like early September. And then in week 3 of treatment, I started to gain real momentum, like I was finishing full meals again. And then we got the stomach flu. So that's fun. And we were very similarly symptomatic to our food poisoning episode with the stomach flu. So then a couple more days of not eating anything, and then you get back into a juice and crackers, have difficulties getting up out of bed, difficulties getting up out of up the stairs, lightheadedness, the whole shebang. Now, we weren't as unhealthy, we weren't as malnourished as we were after 2 months of not eating right, but like a couple weeks of eating correctly again into a week of not eating correctly, because you, with the flu, you can't keep food down regardless. So as soon as you can keep food down, you put what you can in it. So we got set back to square one as far as treatment goes, pretty much. Had to restart with like the 8 small meals a day. Took me a long time to finish food, start putting on weight again after losing more weight. All right, cool. Get on to some momentum with treatment. And then Grace was going out to visit her sister for various reasons we won't go into, but it was supposed to be like a 4-day trip, 4 or 5 day trip. I was a little anxious about being home alone because of medical issues, like we're not entirely stable. And so we asked my father-in-law to come stay with me. So he was my roommate for like a week. Not a week, like 5 days. That's stressful. And we're very appreciative of him for doing that. If he's watching this video right now, you did great. But it's not the same. Like, you don't want to live with your father-in-law no matter how great they are. It's someone else in your house that you're not used to. So you get used to this new dynamic again, this new person being around with a new schedule that you don't know as well, while you're trying to focus on like struggling to eat. So that knocked us out, knocked the wind out of ourselves for a little bit. We were kind of just treading water. Well, then Grace got COVID out in Seattle. So she had to stay there, and I'll save you some of the details of that, but she had to stay there for another week. So instead of 5 days with a different person in my house, it was a week and a half with a different person in my house. And then there was the stress of how to get Grace back. And if Grace comes back with COVID, I definitely didn't have COVID. So, all right, are we going to get sick again? And like the stomach flu thing is just going to set me behind. And now at this point, I'm at low enough of a weight that was a legitimate medical concern, where it's like, if I get COVID, am I going to end up in the hospital? And also, what's this going to do with treatment? And also, I might get discharged from treatment if I'm gone long enough for being sick, and they have to readmit me later, which has like a whole wait list and all this stuff. So it was a really stressful, awful time. And during that stressful, awful time, I was having a really hard time eating because it's stressful and you're like anxious all the time and you're panicking. So then Grace comes back, and after taking a week extra so that she wouldn't give me COVID, she comes back and we social distance. I drop off her car at the airport. She gets in the car. I'm not in that car. My friend, thank you, friend, if you're watching this as well, thank you for helping with all this. My friend takes me home separately. I set up the basement so I can live in the basement, and she lives upstairs. We're avoiding everything. Great. Grace is home. I'm not going to get COVID. Never mind. Fuck that. I got sick. Now, it turned out not to be COVID, but at the time we didn't know. But it was like Grace got home Saturday. I get sick Monday. That seems like COVID. So I get a cold. So I'm sick again. And it's very hard to keep eating. It's very hard to gain weight when you're sick. And Grace is back, and she had COVID and all this stuff, so all these stressors, and we just keep getting kicked around. And it's been awful. It's been the worst time of my entire life. Now, as I'm recording this video, Grace has been home about a week now. Yeah. I got over being sick for the last time. I have like 2 weeks left from this point until I discharge. Now, when this video comes out, it might be less than 2 weeks. But the main point is I got a discharge from this treatment program, get back to work, and keep working on this. So that was my whole rambling spiel of what's been happening to me. How this relates to you. I've lost a lot of weight. Been pretty depressed. And every day I wake up and battle to either eat more or eat different foods than the day before. And the fact that eating food is a chore is not pleasant. It's hard to wrap your mind around if it's not something you've had to deal with ever, but like, it is exhausting to convince yourself to eat, even though you are sure that that food is going to make you nauseous, going to cause you a lot of pain, and it's going to be a bad time. So, to any family and friends that I sent this video to with this timestamp, you probably haven't heard from me this year. And that whole ramble is why. It's been awful. It's been very hard. Oh, shit, I forgot one thing. So, you know, Grace and I had to cancel our anniversary. We also had to cancel our honeymoon because our honeymoon happened while I was in treatment, and I definitely wasn't healthy enough to go to Europe. And then Grace's birthday this year was when she got COVID. So it's been fucked. Like, emotionally, it's been a depressing year. Really not that much positive has happened for us. Everything we've looked forward to has gotten canceled due to either her illness or mine. Hers was COVID. Mine's fucking everything at this point. We got a cold, a flu, food poisoning, panic disorders, giant smoke cloud living over our state. It's been great. So yeah, it's just been emotionally exhausting, and I haven't had the bandwidth to travel due to health reasons. I haven't had the bandwidth to even hop on games with like two of my high school friends. We play games every Sunday. Sometimes I'm sitting there with dinner and there's, you know, you have your meal plan that the dietitian's assigned to you, and I need to finish this for dinner. I need to get my PM snack in, and then it's 8 o'clock and I'm still working on dinner. And my stomach hurts and I'm crazy full. And then it's like, hey, dude, you want to hop on games? And I'm like, can't tonight. And I said that a lot of weeks in a row. I might even say that tonight because it's Sunday. We're going to see. We usually play on Sunday nights. But yeah, so like, I know calling out some specifics. Dad, you and Marsha haven't heard from me in a while. Appreciate your support. You were checking in, and sometimes I just didn't have the emotional bandwidth to go into all this. I was exhausted from a day of treatment, and I was just like, getting better. That's all I can type right now. I need to get back to fighting. Like, it's been really hard. It's been a lot of tears, a lot of despair. It's been awful. Lost a lot of weight. At one point, this is me looking a little bit better, but at one point, like, if I looked in the mirror, I wouldn't recognize the person there. Because I think my max weight ever in life was 185 pounds. And in treatment, they don't want you looking at scales. And I didn't want to look at scales because they were scary. But the last time I looked, I had lost 30 pounds. I was at 150, which, like, that's a large percentage of weight to lose in 2 months. You can still kind of see it on my face here, but like, my cheeks divot in, which they didn't used to. Like you can see my cheekbones a lot, and you didn't used to do that. So it's been hard to look at yourself in the mirror and you look like a skeleton. It's been tough. And like we had some real medical issues I did mention before, but like sometimes, you know, at the depths of it, it was literally hard to get up the stairs. Like you'd have to stop and take breaks because your body's just so malnourished and out of calories. So, to family and friends who haven't seen us, to our board game friends who we used to do board games every other week, to that same group, we also did Dungeons and Dragons every other week. You know, to our high school friends, to my parents who I've missed some holidays with, or the holidays I did show up for, I really wasn't that present. Hopefully this explained where I've been 2025. And unfortunately, where we're still going to be for a couple months here. Hoping to get back to work soon, leaving treatment soon, but that's still like, leaving treatment just means you're medically stable. There's still going to be a lot of work to do. We still got to get like a lot of different types of food back into the rotation, right? Like, just because we're medically healthy doesn't mean like, oh man, I'm gonna go slam tacos or lasagna or whatever. It's like, it's gonna be a long process. And I'm also still gonna be in treatment for a while. It's like 2 weeks of intensive treatment where it's like a job. You go in 9, you leave at 5 kind of job. I'll be doing outpatient services for a while where it's like you go 4 days a week for 3 hours instead, and then the other days I'll be working. So yeah, still not gonna see terribly much of me. I'm hoping to be fully better by like Christmas so I can come down for Christmas stuff. But I can't guarantee it at this point. I'm hopeful, but this year has been the type of years where every time we make a promise or a plan, we get royally fucked and we're just done making plans. We're just like, we're going to see. Whenever anybody asks us if we want to do anything, we're like, we'll see. And we're not trying to be terrible. We just have been knocked around this year. Like, we can't do it anymore. We can't keep breaking plans. We can't keep canceling on people all the time. It's horribly depressing. We feel awful, and yet we have to, because it's like, there was a big summer thing I missed where I was trying to get down there, and it's like for my cousin's baby shower for his first baby. And it's like, okay, it's difficult for me to get up and down the stairs, but we need to drive for 2 hours back home, hang out with people, drive back home, all in the time without freaking out. Seems pretty difficult. So, yeah, it's been hard. This video is a bit rambly. That's just kind of how I do things, unfortunately, for everybody involved, because it's been a wild year. So trying to remember everything that happened this year and get it all out in one stream of thought is difficult. But yeah, appreciate if you watched all the way through this. So this is the end of like the family and friends portion, and YouTube, of course. Like, for the people who care about where the hell I've been or what was happening, this was also for you. But anyway, if you don't care about Total War stuff, you can click away now. The future of the channel, as you heard from all that, that's where we've been. And then also, same to my warning to my family and friends that the process isn't over, it's just getting better. We're going to start with videos. Okay, I can record those in my own time. When I have energy, when I have time, I can record those, I can edit them. I'll be honest, I'm nervous about sitting down for a live stream. You know, I don't want to like promise a tournament. Well, okay, yeah, I feel terrible about the Legendary Lords tournament that got essentially canceled. Like, it's still technically going. I'm going to give somebody the prize I promised when we started this thing. But I don't know if I'm going to be able to cast those games, because there's a shit ton of games, and who knows when the next patch is going to come out. I haven't even checked to see if any of the patches that happened while I was gone messed them up. Now, I've been paying attention. None of the patches have been substantial as far as balance goes, so theoretically they'd be fine. But in 5 years of content creation, I can tell you there are patches that have nothing to do with in-game battles. Like, there will literally be a bug fix for high elf capes, and a dark elf versus Skaven game will be completely borked. Like, the replay won't work anymore, right? So there's been 3 patches since I've been recording. Who knows if any of those replays still work? Who knows if I have the time to record them before the DLC comes out? Who knows if the meta that they're in still matters, because I've been very unplugged from what the meta is. So I could be casting these games and like the YouTube chat is just like, yeah, none of these builds are viable now. This is stupid and a waste of your time. So I don't know what the future Legendary Lords tournament is. And I feel terrible for all the people that got excited and partook in it, and it may not get cast, right? So then I'm nervous going forward to like sign up for a live stream or sign up for a tournament, like big comeback tournament. Let's host this. I sign on, and like 30 minutes in, I'm getting tired. Maybe I'm getting anxious. Maybe I start panicking. It's like, fuck, I need to leave now and bail on this and just disappoint a bunch more people, right? That's intimidating. That is a bit scary. Yeah. Well, I don't know. We'll see how stream is going to go. Now, we'll see. I'm not trying to be ominous. We'll see if I ever stream again. It's just, I don't know if I'll get back into streaming this week. Fuck it, we're sending it. Or maybe I need some time. Maybe we just do videos for a bit and then we start streaming again later. But who knows? Events coming up. I don't have any big events planned. There's the DLC soon. We'll be covering that. We still have early access. I haven't seen CA kicking me out or anything for not posting for a bit. So we're going to just start with some videos, start with some replays. First live stream I do will probably be me playing the game so that you have the out, right? If I start playing and I get really anxious or get really tired or my voice starts to hurt, I can just bail and be like, all right, I'm done for the day. As opposed to a tournament where you have a set beginning and an end. So that's where the channel's at. It's not great news. It is good news we're getting better. It's good news we're able to even make videos at all, right? That's good news. And the treatment is going well. Since I got sick for the third fucking time, treatment's going better. You know, we're putting on some weight, which is good. We're adding more different types of food, which is good. So there are good things. But I did want to make this video to update anybody who cared. Cared sounds so harsh. It's like anybody who was like really wondering where I was or what happened. That's not everybody. There are people who just like, I just show up for Total War replays and like, I'm not here for the life drama, and that's fine. That's totally fine. But for anybody who wanted to know, there you go. It's been miserable. It's been depressing. And I don't mean that in the term of I am sad. I mean literally depressing. It's just been a battle. It's been a battle every single day. Eating disorders are no fun. Mental health struggles are no fun. Fucking living in a smoke cloud for 2 months is no fun. And all of them at the same time just completely can destroy your life. So that's where we're at. I do have to prioritize my job, which I've been out of for like 3 months. So I'm going to make sure I can get back into work, get back into that schedule before I go too hard on YouTube stuff. So, yeah. There's the story, gang. There's where we've been. It's been a ride. Not a particularly fun one, but it is what it is. All right. Well, from what I've heard of the drama and stuff, Total War Warhammer 3 is getting review bombed. I also maybe picked a good time to go ahead and get sick, because also there hasn't been a real patch since I left. And there hadn't been a real patch while I had been here. So, never a good time. But at least I didn't miss the DLC.